Almost all of the major mechanical work is now completed, and this includes plumbing and wiring and cables. Internal panelling has been completed as well to separate the driver's tender bits from the engine's hot bits. The internal panelling is not fitted at this stage, but is ready to go. Before I move on to putting the body onto the car, I'll just recap on a couple of the steps that got us to this stage. One of the joys of scratch building is you get to rip out your work and start again. In this case, the chain drive diff, I'd originally planned to take up chain tension with packers underneath the plumber blocks. But the issue was that there's no way, it was just too confined to easily get packers in there when I was constricted by the caliper on one side and the chain on the other. So the answer was to rip out plan A and instead put in thread adjusters on the top so the whole unit can be moved backwards and forwards using threaded nuts inside these housings. It's certainly a lot tidier. It also required me to put a hinge in the bottom. Trying to pack the diff back to tension the chain was a dumb idea. So the hinges are at the bottom of what is essentially a separate diff carrier. I also lowered the diff and sprocket assembly because in the original plan I didn't have enough clearance between the top of the chain and it had the potential to clash with the chassis member here. Of course, lowering the sprocket then affected the position of the reverser pulley, which in turn meant that the reverser intermediate gears were too high. The motor then wasn't pointing correctly, and as you see now, it stands vertically where previously it stood horizontally, which meant I had to modify the operating arm for the reverser, which you see here. The reverser is now operated by a plunger which sits next to the driver's right arm. Pushing the plunger down takes up the slack on the reverser pulley and belt, and when the electric motor starts, then puts the vehicle into reverse. It was pointed out to me in the YouTube comments, and I think it had a lot of merit, that this tube actually points straight back at the driver's intestines, and in the event of a prang on the left-hand corner, there's a chance it would come back and push all the way into the driver. My plan then is, I think, to cut it out and continue these two members through to the chassis here and here. And then this is where the front safety cage plate sits. So on the whole, it'll be plated over. I normally wouldn't endorse taking a chassis tube into the middle of a chassis member. In this case, what it would be doing is carrying a bending moment at that point from this larger triangle, should it bend backwards and forwards in attempt to twist that member there. However, when this is carried to here and this is carried to here and it's plated over, I think I'll have a lot of strength in bending on this chassis member here, and it should be cool. Anyway, that's the plan. It's far better than having a spear pointed at my guts. There's some tidying up to do there. but once that triangle on the right is plated over, it should restore the stiffness to the space frame. I should be able to downshift without taking my hand off the steering wheel. The remote gear linkage from the motorbike has been extended with a 6mm rod, and it goes up to the gear change, which is actually the old brake lever from the motorbike. I can, sitting, easily reach across and push the gear lever down to go down through the gears, and up to go up through the gears without moving my arm too far from the steering wheel. So that's a good one. On to the next job.